Bram Tully told a church full of people that Hattie Ward could not be trusted inside a house with money. $12 had vanished after Mrs. Bell died, and Bram had spent months making Pine Cleft believe Hattie took it. Now the last winter job in town was at North Fork, and Bram controlled the coal credit, keeping that ranch alive. When Hattie turned to the one woman who could clear her name, Maud Larkin looked at Bram's ledger and said, "I do not recollect it plain." Hattie understood then. Bram was not just denying her work, he was using debt to make the truth afraid of him. Snow scraped the Pine Cleft church windows. Hattie's carpetbag sat beside her boots, and the North Road could close with the first real blizzard. She needed wages before it did. Bram stood behind the relief table with a ledger under one hand and a brass watch chain bright against his black waistcoat. He owned the coal shed, held most of the winter credit notes, and served as church treasurer because nobody else in town could keep figures as fast as he could. "Mrs. Ward," he said. "Miss Ward," Hattie said, "my husband has been gone 6 years." "Widow then," Bram said, as if he were correcting a column. "Former schoolteacher, former housekeeper, former companion to Mrs. Bell at the boarding house. I worked for Mrs. Bell until she passed. And the relief purse lost $12 that week." The church went still. Hattie did not move. She had heard the accusation in corners, in the mercantile, in the boarding house hall after midnight, but Bram had never spoken it from the relief table before. Public words made a private cruelty look lawful. "Mrs. Bell's nephew took her papers the morning after she died," Hattie said. "I gave Maud the purse in front of the kitchen door." Every face turned toward Maud. Maud's mouth parted, her eyes flicked to Bram, then to the ledger under his hand. "I do not recollect it plain." One ranch wife who had been watching Hattie looked away. A teamster near the aisle moved his coin purse from the bench into his coat. Bram had turned a rumor into something the room was now acting on. Hattie felt Maud's answer settle in her chest like cold iron. Bram tapped the ledger. "Pine Cleft has generous hearts, Miss Ward, but winter is no season for sentimental mistakes. We cannot place a woman with a question over her honesty in a ranch house full of stores, children, and payroll money." "There was no question until you made one," Hattie said. "A few people shifted, nobody stood." Bram leaned back. "There is also the matter of your board. I owe Maud 2 weeks. I told her I would pay from my next place. You owe the boarding house, the mercantile, and the coal shed. Debt follows character, Miss Ward. It does not improve it." Hattie looked past him to the notice board. 3 winter posts were written in chalk. A cook needed at Bar 7, filled. A seamstress needed at Calkin's store, filled. A ranch housekeeper needed 20 miles north at North Fork, still open. "I can cook, keep accounts, teach letters, nurse fever, mend harness canvas, salt pork, and stretch flour when the road closes," she said. "If North Fork still needs help, I will speak for that place." The church doors opened before Bram could answer. A gust of snow pushed into the aisle, and with it came a tall man in a sheepskin coat dusted white across the shoulders. He stamped his boots once on the mat. 2 boys came in behind him, one almost 16 with a stubborn jaw, the other 12 and narrow as a rail. The older boy held his hat in both hands. The younger kept close to the man's side and stared at the crowded church as if every face might judge his worn sleeves. The man took in the room quickly. He saw Bram at the table, Hattie standing alone, Maud by the stove, and the empty line of space around Hattie that told its own story. "Eli Mercer," Bram said, "you are late." "Road drifted shut twice," Eli said. His voice was low, plain, and tired. "I came for the housekeeper post." Bram's smile returned. "Then you came in time to avoid a mistake. Miss Ward just offered herself." Eli looked at Hattie then. Not the way other men in the church looked at her. Not with suspicion first. Not with quick pity. His eyes moved from her wet hem to her reddened hands to the carpetbag by her boots, and something in his expression tightened, not with desire and not with ownership, but with recognition. As if he knew what it meant to be brought before a room and weighed by people who would not carry the load themselves. "Did she?" he asked. "She did," Bram said, "and I advised against it." Eli kept looking at Hattie. "Can you make bread without wasting yeast?" "Yes." "Can you keep a stove alive all night without smoking the room?" Yes. Can you tell two boys to wash behind their ears without asking permission from their father? The younger boy's mouth opened. The older one looked insulted. Hattie said if they need telling, yes. For the first time that morning, a small sound moved through the church that was almost a laugh. Eli's eyes warmed just a little. North Fork is hard country. My wife died 2 winters back. My sister kept house until she married east last month. We have stores, but not enough sense with them. I need a housekeeper, not gossip. Bram closed the ledger. You need coal credit too. That did what Bram intended. Eli's jaw flexed once. Bram turned to the room. North Fork is on my winter account. Coal, lamp oil, nails, salt, coffee, and freight. A man may hire who he pleases, but a creditor may decide whether to extend risk. Eli took off his hat. The movement was slow. Are you saying if I hire Miss Ward, you will close my account? I am saying I cannot risk church relief and merchant credit around a woman already under debt. Hattie stepped back. Mr. Mercer, you do not owe me this quarrel. Eli looked at her again. Something passed over his face, the quick guarded pain of a man remembering another winter and another woman, then he set the memory aside. I did not come for an easy hire, he said. I came because my sons need supper before spring. Your sons need more than supper, Bram said. They need a respectable roof. The older boy flinched at that. Eli saw it. Hattie saw Eli see it. Respectable starts with telling the truth, Eli said. Has Miss Ward been charged? Bram's smile thinned, not formally. Has anyone proved she stole church money? Proof is not always a hammer on a nail. Then do not swing it like one. Eli turned to Hattie. Miss Ward, North Fork pays $12 a month, board included, Sundays clear unless weather says otherwise. You will have a room with a latch from the inside. You will keep account of kitchen stores. You will not be asked to mother my boys, though you may scold them if they deserve it. If after a month either of us is dissatisfied, I will bring you back with wages paid. Hattie held his gaze. The offer was better than any she had expected and more dangerous than Bram wanted it to be. It had dignity in it. It also had a cost. If you hire me, she said quietly, Mr. Tully may mean what he says. I expect he does. And if the rumors follow me. Eli glanced around the church. Then they will have to walk 20 miles through snow. The younger boy snorted. The older one looked at his father as if he had never heard him speak so in public. Bram's voice sharpened. Mercer, your last hay note is due before Christmas. I know when my notes come due. North Fork can survive a hard winter or a foolish stand, not both. Eli put his hat back on. Then I will choose the stand carefully. Hattie should have felt relief. Instead, she felt the weight of every stare in the church, the danger of being grateful to a man because he had treated her like a person, and the old stubborn pride that had kept her upright after her husband's grave, after the school closed, after Mrs. Bell's death, after Maud's silence. Mr. Mercer, she said, I will work hard, but I will not be a charity case. Eli's mouth softened at one corner. Good, I cannot afford one. Bram opened the ledger again and dipped his pen. Then let it be recorded. Eli Mercer hires Hattie Ward against the warning of the Pine Cleft Relief Board. Record something useful, Hattie said before fear could stop her. Record that I asked for work and received wages. The room changed. Not much. Not enough to save her. But enough for 3 women to look up, enough for Maud to close her eyes, enough for Eli Mercer to notice her again with that same restrained steadiness. I will record the wages, Bram said, and the debt. Eli moved toward the door. Boys, get Miss Ward's bag. The younger boy took one step, then looked at Hattie as if unsure whether a rejected housekeeper might bite. Hattie picked up the carpetbag herself. I have it. The older boy muttered, she is not staying long. Hattie heard him, Eli heard him, the church heard him. Eli did not rebuke him loudly. He only said, Daniel. The boy looked down. Hattie walked out of the church with the carpetbag in her hand and Pine Cleft's judgment at her back. Snow struck her face. The cold steadied her. Eli's wagon stood near the hitching rail under a patched canvas cover with 2 rangy horses blowing steam into the air. Eli lifted the back flap. Your trunk at the boarding house. Maud has it. We will fetch it. She may not release it. Then we will ask Plain. Plain does not always open a locked door. Eli studied her. No, but it tells you who locked it. They crossed to Maud's boarding house with the boys trailing behind. Pine Cleft was little more than a church, a mercantile, a coal shed, a livery, and a scatter of houses pressed against the white hills. Smoke rose from chimneys and vanished into the snow. The coal shed stood behind Bram Tully's store with a new padlock on the double doors. Hattie noticed the padlock because her father, who had hauled freight before fever took him, had taught her to notice what a town locked away. Maud met them in the boarding house hall. She had put on her shawl and recovered enough color to look indignant. Hattie, must this be done in a rush? My trunk, Hattie said. Maud's eyes shifted to Eli. Mrs. Ward owes board. Miss Ward, Hattie said. Her trunk secures the debt, Maud continued. That is ordinary practice. Eli removed his gloves. How much? Hattie turned. Do not pay it. I asked how much, Eli said to Maud, still mild. Maud swallowed. $6. It was for yesterday, Hattie said. Coal went up. I was not burning coal in my trunk. Eli reached into his coat and counted coins into Maud's palm. $6, receipt. Hattie stepped between them. Mr. Mercer, I said no. I heard you, his voice stayed quiet. This is an advance against wages if you accept it. If you do not, I will count it as my own foolishness and not mention it again. That still makes me beholden. Wages always do until they are earned. She searched his face for a trap and found only fatigue, patience, and something else he was careful not to show too much of in a public hallway. Admiration, maybe, or the beginning of it. Maud wrote the receipt with a trembling hand. She gave the trunk key to Hattie without meeting her eyes. You could have spoken in church, Hattie said. Maud's mouth tightened. Some of us cannot afford brave speeches. Neither can I. Then you should not make them. Hattie took the key. No, that is exactly when they matter. The trunk was small, pine board with one iron hinge replaced by leather. Daniel Mercer carried one side and his younger brother, Tom, took the other after a hard look from Eli. They loaded it into the wagon. Hattie climbed onto the rear bench, and the boys sat opposite her with the alert discomfort of children asked to share air with a stranger. Eli took the reins. Bram Tully came out of his store as the wagon turned. He did not call after them. He only stood under the porch roof and watched, one hand resting on the post where notices of debt and sale were tacked for all to see. Hattie looked at those notices until snow blurred them. If you like clean frontier romances built on hard choices, subscribe and ride with us. The road north climbed out of Pine Cleft through sagebrush gone gray with frost. The wagon wheels found ruts under the snow and dropped into them hard enough to jar Hattie's teeth. Eli kept the horses steady. Daniel stared out at the ridge. Tom stole looks at Hattie whenever he thought she would not notice. After 2 miles, he said, Did you really steal church money? Daniel elbowed him. Tom. Hattie folded her gloved hands. No. Then why did Mr. Tully say? Because saying costs less than proving. Tom thought about that. Pa says Bram Tully does not spend anything he cannot get back double. Eli's shoulders shifted, but he did not turn. Daniel said, Pa says a lot of things when he thinks we are asleep. Then I hope you learn the useful ones, Hattie said. Tom looked at her with more interest. Can you make molasses dumplings? If there is molasses. There is not, Daniel said. There is beans, flour, coffee, dried apples if mice did not get them, and one ham Pa will not cut until Christmas. Then I can make something that reminds a person of molasses dumplings without lying about it. Tom grinned despite himself. Daniel did not. Ma made dumplings. The wagon seemed to grow quieter around that name. Then I will not pretend mine are hers, she said. Daniel's face changed in a way he tried to hide. Eli turned just enough for Hattie to see gratitude and pain together. The first glimpse of North Fork Ranch came near dusk. It sat in a hollow below a line of black pines with a barn leaning into the wind, a bunkhouse low against the hill, and a ranch house of squared logs with smoke leaking thin from one chimney. A frozen creek shone beyond the corral. The place looked tired but not beaten. Hattie understood tired places. At the yard, 2 hired men came from the barn. One was gray and wide with a limp. The other was a narrow fellow with a red scarf and suspicious eyes. "This her?" the narrow one asked. Eli climbed down. "This is Miss Ward. She keeps house starting tonight." "Tully's woman." Hattie stepped down before Eli could answer. "If I belonged to Mr. Tully, I would not have ridden 20 miles away from him in a snowstorm." The gray man barked a laugh. The narrow one did not. Eli said, "Gideon, take the team. Arlen, bring in the trunk." Arlen looked at Hattie's trunk as if dishonesty might leak from it. Hattie reached for the handle. Eli said, "Arlen." The warning was quiet. Arlen took the trunk. Inside, the house smelled of ash, damp wool, old coffee, and boys who had been pretending they did not need soap. The kitchen table was piled with harness straps, school slates, a cracked lamp chimney, a bucket of potatoes, and 1 sock. The stove had gone sulky. Flour dust streaked the sideboard. A framed photograph of a woman with steady eyes sat on a shelf above the dry sink, with a sprig of faded ribbon tucked behind it. Hattie removed her gloves. "Where are your matches?" Tom pointed. Daniel watched. She did not ask where Mrs. Mercer had kept things. She did not touch the photograph. She took the matches, opened the stove, found the draft wrong, cleared the ash pan, coaxed a flame with kindling, and set water to heat before anyone thought to offer her a chair. Gideon watched the coal catch and frowned. "Easy with that," he said. "Tully's last coal delivery burned down twice as fast as it should have." Hattie looked at the coal scuttle, and the next wagon. "A week," Gideon said, "if Bram sends it." The men stood near the door as if waiting for judgment. "Mr. Mercer," Hattie said, "do you want supper quick or supper respectable?" Eli blinked. "There is a difference." "Tonight, yes." Tom said, "Quick." Daniel said, "Respectable." Hattie looked between them. "Then quick first, respectable tomorrow." She found beans already soaked, sliced onion, fried salt pork, and old biscuits for skillet toast. She set Tom to washing potatoes, Daniel to clearing school slates from the table, and Eli to hauling in 2 buckets of water. At supper, Gideon ate 3 helpings and said, "Tastes like somebody meant it." Arlen said nothing. Tom asked whether Hattie could teach fractions. "Only to people who wash their hands," she said. Tom looked betrayed. Daniel nearly smiled. Eli sat at the foot of the table, hands wrapped around a coffee cup, watching his sons eat. Not Hattie, not directly. His sons. But when she crossed behind him to fetch the coffee pot, he rose halfway as if manners had survived grief even when much else had not. "You need not stand every time I move," she said. "I was raised wrong if I don't." "Were you raised to take orders in your kitchen?" "No, that part is new." There it was again, that almost smile. It did not ask anything from her. It only warmed the room by a degree. After supper, Eli showed her the small room off the back hall. It had a narrow bed, a washstand, a nail for a coat, and a window rimmed with frost. "Latch is there," he said. "It sticks in damp weather. I will plane it tomorrow." Hattie tested it. The latch caught from the inside. "Thank you. If anyone on this place gives you trouble, you tell me." "If anyone on this place gives me trouble, I will likely tell him first." Eli's eyes met hers, and for one unguarded second she saw the man under the widower's burden. Not only father, employer, debtor, rancher, a man tired of cold rooms, a man who had noticed the way she stood under accusation and had not mistaken pride for hardness. "I believe you will," he said. She closed the door that night and sat on the edge of the bed without removing her coat. The room was cold, but it was hers for the month. A latch from the inside, wages named, work enough to make her bones ache, a house full of grief that did not know whether to resent her or need her. It was more dangerous than the boarding house because hope had room to stand up. By morning, North Fork began testing her. The pump handle froze before breakfast. Tom spilled ashes into the wood box. Daniel refused porridge because his mother had made it thinner. Arlen tracked manure across the kitchen and looked surprised when Hattie handed him a rag. Gideon laughed until Hattie handed him one too. The first coal sack split near noon. Hattie had dragged it closer to the stove, annoyed by the way it sagged. Full sacks had a certain stubbornness. This one folded too easily, like a pillow stuffed for show. When the seam gave, black lumps spilled across the floor, and beneath them was a layer of slate chips and frozen dirt. Tom crouched. Coal is not supposed to have rocks in it, is it? Coal is a rock, Daniel said, pleased to correct him. Hattie picked up a gray chunk. Not this kind. Eli came in with snow on his shoulders. He saw the spill and stopped. That sack came from Tully, Hattie asked. All coal in Pine Cleft comes through Tully. How much did you pay for it? Full winter weight. She lifted the sack cloth. A black stamp marked it, Pine Cleft Relief and Supply, full 50. This is not 50 pounds. Eli's face went still. Daniel said maybe it spilled in the wagon. No, Hattie said, it was stitched short. See here, the bottom was opened and sewn again with gray thread, not factory twine. Eli took the sack from her and rubbed the stitching between his fingers. How do you know factory twine? My father hauled freight. My husband kept a dry goods shelf before he took fever. I have mended enough sacks to know when a man wants a seam to look tired instead of new. Gideon came in from the yard, heard the end of it, and spat into the ash bucket. I told you those sacks were light. Eli looked at him. You told me Tully's scale was mean. Same sermon, shorter hymn. Hattie folded the sack. Do you keep empties? Barn loft, Eli said. Then keep this one separate. Arlen appeared in the doorway. You planning to accuse Bram Tully over one bad sack? Hattie met his eyes. No, I am planning to cook dinner with less coal than he sold. She asked Eli for an empty nail keg and poured the slate chips into it where everyone could see. They struck the bottom with a dull sound, not the clean clatter of coal. That is supper heat, she said. That is lamp heat. That is the difference between banking a stove and waking up cold. Tom stared at the keg. Daniel stopped pretending not to listen. Even Arlen looked toward the stove as if the room had lost warmth while Hattie spoke. That evening the wind came down from the ridge. It found cracks in the kitchen wall and made the lamp flame lean. Hattie stuffed rags where she could, moved the boys' school books away from the draft, and made a stew from beans, potatoes, and the bone Eli had meant to save another day. Nobody complained. Hunger and cold were honest teachers. After the boys slept, Hattie stood at the dry sink scraping a pot. Eli came in quietly, carrying an armload of wood. You should sleep, he said. So should you. Cattle do not respect sleep. Neither do beans if left to scorch. He stacked the wood by the stove. Daniel said something this morning about his mother. He misses her. He does. Eli leaned one hand on the chair. You speak as if you know. Hattie rinsed the pot. My husband died thinking he had left me enough. Fever made him generous with promises he could not keep. I was angry with him for a year, then I was angry at myself for being angry. Neither anger paid rent. Eli was silent so long, she wondered whether she had said too much. My wife Anne knew every sound this house made, he said at last. After she died, the boys and I kept eating because people brought food. Then people stopped bringing food. I sold cattle to pay the doctor. I kept the ranch alive, but the house, he looked toward the dark hall. The house went on dying in little ways. Hattie set the pot upside down. Houses do that when no one is allowed to need anything. He looked at her then. The room seemed smaller, not in a trapping way, but in a way that made every word matter. Miss Ward, he said, I did not hire you to replace her. I know. My sons may act otherwise. Your sons are children standing guard over a grave. I do not intend to fight them for it. For more clean Western romance, lonely ranchers, rejected women finding home, and frontier families facing winter, subscribe to the channel. The first week settled into hard work and small wars. Hattie wrote a kitchen inventory on brown paper and pinned it inside the pantry door. She set Tom to copying spelling words while shelling beans. She made Daniel add columns of flour, salt, and coffee until he stopped groaning because he saw the numbers meant whether breakfast stretched until Sunday. She moved Ann Mercer's photograph from the shelf only once, and then only to dust beneath it before putting it back exactly where it had stood. That last act won her more with Daniel than any speech could have. Arlen remained sour. He had worked for Eli only since fall, and he carried news to town too quickly for Hattie's liking. Gideon watched him the way old dogs watched a gate. Eli said little, but he noticed. On the 8th day, Tully's wagon did not come. It should have brought coal, lamp oil, salt, and a sack of coffee. Instead, a rider came near sundown with a folded paper tucked under his coat. He was one of Tully's teamsters, a square man named Nate Ives who would not meet Eli's eye when he handed over the notice. Eli read it by the barn door. Hattie stood on the porch with a dish towel in her hands. Snow had hardened into a crust over the yard, and the sky beyond the ridge was the dull pewter color that meant heavier weather coming. Eli folded the paper. "What is it?" she asked. "Credit hold." Tom came up behind her. "Does that mean no coffee?" "It means Mr. Tully wants something," Hattie said. Eli looked at Nate. "What did Bram tell you to say?" Nate shifted in his saddle. He said account stays closed until Miss Ward's debt is settled and North Fork signs winter collateral. "What collateral?" Nate's face tightened. "North Hay Meadow." Gideon swore under his breath. Daniel came from the barn with a currycomb in his hand. "Pa, that's the good meadow." "I know what it is." Nate pulled another paper from his coat. "He said if you send Miss Ward back, he will reopen the account pending review." The yard turned very quiet. Hattie felt the old shame rise hot against the cold. It would be easy, too easy, to say she would leave, to spare Eli, to spare the boys, to walk back into Pine Cleft and give Bram Tully the shape of the world he wanted. Eli did not look at her right away. He looked at his sons first, then at the barn, the hay stacked under its roof, the ridge line where snow was already thickening. Then he looked at Hattie. He did not say stay, he did not say go. That restraint struck her harder than a plea. "Mr. Ives," Hattie said, stepping off the porch, "tell Mr. Tully I will settle my own debts when he presents honest accounts." Nate looked miserable. "Ma'am, I just carry messages." "Then carry that one whole." Eli said, "and tell Bram the North Meadow is not on his table." "He said you would say so." "Then he has had his answer early." Nate turned his horse, then paused. "Weather office down in Laramie wired the livery. Big storm by Friday. I would lay in what you can." "With what coal?" Daniel snapped. Nate flinched. "I am sorry." He rode away into the blue dusk. Bram had chosen the week before a blizzard to find out what Eli Mercer valued more than his meadow. Hattie looked toward the north field, though the rise hid it from the yard. She had never owned land, but she understood what it meant to have one piece of ground that kept a family from scattering. Bram had not threatened a number in a ledger. He had put his hand on the place where Eli's sons would try to stand come spring. Arlen came from the bunkhouse, buttoning his coat. "This is foolish, Eli. A housekeeper ain't worth a hay meadow." Eli's head turned slowly. "A person's name is worth more than your opinion." Arlen reddened. "I did not hire on to freeze over a stranger." Hattie said, "No one asks you to freeze over me." "That is exactly what is happening." Gideon limped forward. "No, boy, we are freezing because Bram Tully cheats coal sacks and calls it business." Arlen looked from Gideon to Eli. "You will ruin this place." Eli took one step closer. "You can draw wages through tomorrow and leave at first light if the road holds." "And if it doesn't?" "Then you can work until it does." Arlen spat into the snow and went back to the bunkhouse. That night Hattie counted every coal scuttle, every stick of wood, every candle, every pinch of coffee. Eli sat across from her at the kitchen table while the boys slept. The house had gone quiet except for wind around the eaves. "I can leave before the storm," Hattie said. Eli looked up. "There is no shame in it," she continued. "You hired me for work. If keeping me puts your sons at risk, then work requires me to go." "Do you want to go?" The question was too gentle. Hattie set down the pencil. "Wanting has not been a reliable guide." "That is not an answer." "No," she said, "I do not want to go." His face changed, "Not much, enough." "Then I will not use you as kindling to warm Bram Tully's pride." "Mr. Mercer." "Eli," he said quietly. She could have pretended not to hear. She did not. Eli, she said, and his name felt like stepping onto unbroken snow. You have sons. I know. You have a note due. I know that too. And you have grief enough in this house without inviting mine to sit at the table. He looked toward the dark hallway where his sons slept. Grief is already at the table, Hattie. Yours at least knows how to cook. The laugh left her before she could stop it. It was small, surprised, and almost painful from disuse. Eli smiled then, a real smile, tired and brief but unmistakable. It made him look younger than 35 and lonelier than he would ever admit in daylight. Hattie looked down at the inventory because she did not trust her face. Tomorrow, she said, we cut wood, move the flour away from the north wall, render the pork fat, and hang blankets across the hall. If Tully will not sell coal, we make this house need less of it. You sound like you plan to stay. Through Friday. Only Friday. I do not make promises to blizzards. Fair. The next 2 days became a race against weather. Eli and Gideon hauled deadfall from the creek bottom. Daniel split kindling until blisters rose. Tom gathered chips and sang multiplication tables under his breath because Hattie had discovered fear loosened its grip when a child had numbers to bully. Arlen worked because leaving would have made him look smaller than staying, but every stroke of his axe carried complaint. Hattie turned the kitchen into a winter engine. She baked hard biscuits, boiled beans thick, packed snow around the milk crock, moved potatoes from the outer wall, dried mittens, mended socks, checked lamp wicks, and made the boys recite spelling while stacking wood by size. On Thursday afternoon, she found 3 more short coal sacks in the barn loft. Not one bad sack, 4. Each stamped full 50, each opened at the bottom and resewn with gray thread, each padded with slate chips and frozen dirt. She laid them in a row on the barn floor. Gideon crouched beside her, same trick. How many families are paying for full coal and burning stone? All that buy from Tully. And church relief. Gideon rubbed his beard. Widows get relief sacks. Tully keeps the store, board signs, paper he delivers. Who weighs them? Bram does. Who else sees? Maud writes some accounts for him when his clerk drinks. Hattie sat back on her heels. Maud. The barn door opened and Daniel stepped in. Pa says storm line is over the west ridge. Then he saw the sacks. What are you doing? Learning why this house is cold, Hattie said. Daniel came closer. His anger had shifted these past days. It still looked for somewhere to go, but it no longer aimed only at Hattie. Can we prove it? Maybe. Maybe does not help. Maybe is where proof starts. That sounds like teacher talk. I was a teacher. They closed the school. Yes. Why? Hattie folded one of the sacks. Because the roof failed, the board said there was no money and Mr. Tully wanted the building for storage. Daniel looked toward the house, then at the sacks. He gets a lot of things. Only while people hand them over. That evening, the blizzard arrived. It did not come like weather, it came like a wall. The ridge vanished first, then the corral. Then the barn lantern became a yellow smear 10 steps from the porch. Wind hit the house broadside and shook snow from the roof in heavy slides. Hattie looked at the coal bin differently now. Every slate chip they had paid Bram for was heat they could not burn, and the road back to Pine Cleft had disappeared under snow. His cheating was no longer an account problem. It was inside the house with them. She made Daniel bring the nail keg from the pantry and set it beside the stove. The boys watched while she separated black coal from gray waste with the stove poker. Each useless piece made the pile look larger. That is what he sold us for warmth, she said. Eli looked from the stones to the window where snow had erased the yard. And the road is gone. Yes. No one in the kitchen needed the arithmetic explained. Bram had not merely stolen money from a bill. He had stolen hours of heat from a house with children in it. By midnight, the kitchen stove smoked because the draft kept reversing. Hattie tied a cloth over her hair and adjusted the pipe damper while Eli held the lantern. Their shoulders nearly touched. The house groaned around them. Careful, he said. I am. You always answer as if concern is accusation. She froze with one hand on the stove iron. He looked sorry at once. I should not have said that. No, she said after a moment. You should have said it sooner, perhaps. He held the lantern higher. Soot streaked her wrist. Without thinking, he reached as if to wipe it away, then stopped before touching her. That restraint undid her more than the touch would have. May I? He asked. She looked at his hand, then at his face. Yes. He took the corner of a clean rag and wiped the soot from her wrist as gently as if the bone there were made of thin glass. It was nothing. It was everything. His fingers did not linger. His eyes did. Hattie, he said, voice almost lost under the wind. When this winter lets a man think past feed bills and broken roofs, I would like to call on you proper. Her throat tightened. You employ me. I do. That makes the asking difficult. That is why I am asking nothing tonight, only telling you the truth before some fool, possibly me, mistakes silence for honor. She held the rag between them. If I let myself want that and then Bram Tully ruins you for giving me work, I will have brought harm into this house. Bram brought harm. I opened the door. There is a difference. Then I need to remember which man opened the door. There was the gentleness again, tucked inside plain talk where it could not embarrass either of them. From the whole town called Pa. Eli stepped back at once. Here. The moment ended, but it left warmth behind. The storm held for 2 days. On the second afternoon, part of the barn roof gave way. The sound cracked across the ranch like a tree splitting. Eli was out the door before Hattie reached the porch. Wind slammed her back against the frame. Daniel grabbed a rope. Gideon limped through snow to the barn. Arlen stood in the bunkhouse doorway, pale and useless for 3 breaths too many. Move, Hattie shouted. He moved. Inside the barn, snow poured through a broken section near the hayloft. 2 calves bawled from a stall half-blocked by fallen planks. Eli and Gideon hauled boards aside while Daniel held the lantern high, his hands shaking. Hattie climbed over a beam, ignoring Eli's sharp call to stay back, and cut a tangled rope from a calf's neck with the small kitchen knife she carried in her apron. The calf lurched free. Tom, who had followed when he had been told not to, slid on snow near the doorway. A loose plank shifted above him. Eli saw too late. Hattie did not. She grabbed Tom by the back of his coat and yanked him hard enough that they both fell against the stall wall as the plank dropped where his shoulder had been. The plank did not strike him. It struck the edge of the trough and snapped. The sound filled the barn. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Eli crossed the floor and seized Tom with both hands. He did not scold. He held him, eyes closed, while the wind screamed through the roof. Tom began to cry without making much sound. Daniel stared at Hattie. Arlen whispered, Lord. Hattie pushed herself up. Her elbow throbbed. Her skirt was soaked with snow. She felt fear arrive late, mean and shaking. Eli looked at her over Tom's head. The gratitude in his face was too large for words, and because he was Eli Mercer, he did not try to spend it cheaply. Thank you, he said. Hattie nodded once. Get them to the house. You're armed. House first. He obeyed because she was right. That night, after the calves were moved and the broken roof covered with canvas as best they could, Hattie sat at the kitchen table while Eli wrapped her bruised elbow. Tom slept on the settle because he refused to be farther than 1 room from the adults. Daniel stood near the stove, pretending to sharpen a pencil. I told him not to follow, Daniel said. I know, Hattie said. I should have stopped him. You were holding the lantern. I am older. Older does not mean you can be in 2 places. Daniel's face twisted. Ma would have stopped him. The room went very quiet. Eli tied the bandage, then looked at his son. Maybe, maybe not. Your mother was not magic, Daniel. She was brave and tired and sometimes wrong, and she loved you hard enough to make you think she could stop every bad thing. I let you believe that because I missed her too. That was not fair. Daniel's eyes filled. He looked furious about it. Hattie stayed still. This was not her place to mend, not unless invited. Daniel looked at her then. You pulled him. Yes. You did not have to. I did. Why? Hattie thought of many answers, because he was a child, because danger had been close, because any decent person would. But Daniel was not asking about decency. He was asking whether care could enter a house without stealing the place of the dead. "Because your brother was in front of me," she said, "and because this house has already buried enough." Daniel turned away, but not before she saw the tears. Eli closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, he did not reach for Hattie. He only set the bandage roll aside and said, "You saved my son." "The barn roof still needs saving. So do I, apparently." The words came out softer than he likely intended. Hattie met his eyes across the lamplit table. Most people do. The storm broke on Sunday morning, leaving the world buried and bright. By noon, a rider came through the drifts from town. Not Nate Ives this time. Maud Larkin herself arrived in a borrowed sleigh, wrapped in a brown shawl crusted with snow. Her face was raw from cold, and fear sat on her like another garment. Eli met her at the porch. Hattie stood behind him. "I need to speak to Hattie," Maud said. "Then speak," Hattie answered. Maud looked at Eli. Hattie did not move. "Anything that follows me into this house can stand in its kitchen." Maud stepped inside. Tom watched from the settle. Daniel stood near the pantry. Gideon came no farther than the back door but left it open enough to hear. Maud held out an envelope. "Bram sent this to the boarding house. He said I was to forward it if you refused to return." Hattie did not take it. "What is it?" "Notice of complaint. He says you took Mrs. Bell's purse and left debt in Pine Cleft. He means to ask Sheriff Vale to collect your trunk and wages." "There is no Sheriff Vale," Eli said. "Deputy Vale then. He wears enough badge for Bram's purposes." Hattie took the envelope. Inside was a paper in Bram's clean hand with figures marching down the side like little soldiers. Board, coal, medicines, lost relief purse, interest, storage, collection fee, total $31.70. It was a trap made of ink. Eli reached for the paper, then stopped and let Hattie decide whether to pass it. She did. His face darkened as he read, "This is theft wearing a collar." Maud flinched. Hattie looked at her. "You know it is false." Maud twisted her gloves. "I know parts." "Then say the parts." "Not here." "Here," Hattie said. Maud's eyes filled with angry tears. "You think courage is a loaf you can slice for everyone. Bram owns my note. He can take the boarding house. He can put my brother out of the room over the stable. He can call in every account from here to Laramie. I kept quiet because I am tired of losing." Hattie felt the old hurt, but it no longer stood alone. "You kept quiet while I lost." Maud looked away. Eli said, "What does Bram have on you?" "A note from when Fever took half my boarders. He bought it cheap from the bank. I make entries for him sometimes to pay interest." Hattie's pulse changed. "What entries?" Maud's mouth shut. Hattie stepped closer. "Maud." "Coal relief," Maud whispered. "Widow Sachs, church orders. He tells me what weight to write." The kitchen seemed to hold its breath. Gideon pushed the door open wider. "Say that again." Maud shook her head. "No." "Say it with your whole spine," Hattie said, "or do not come here asking me to understand why you sold mine." Maud looked at her then, wounded by truth and knowing she had earned it. "Bram keeps full payment from church relief and sends short sacks. Not every time. Enough. He says winter has loss built in. He says widows cannot weigh coal and ranchers blame weather." Tom whispered he stole heat. Nobody corrected him. Eli laid Bram's notice on the table. "Will you swear this?" Maud backed up. "No." "Maud," Hattie said. "He will ruin me. He is already using you to ruin others." Maud covered her mouth. For a moment Hattie thought she might break open. Instead, Maud gathered herself, turned hard again and said, "There is a church supper Wednesday if the road clears. Relief board meets after. Bram will press the complaint there. He wants you in town, Hattie. He wants Eli made an example." "Why warn us?" Eli asked. Maud looked at Tom, then Daniel, then Hattie. "Because when I heard about the barn roof, I remembered Mrs. Bell's purse. Hattie did hand it to me, at the kitchen door. I told myself I forgot because forgetting let me sleep." "Did you keep it?" Hattie asked. Maud recoiled. No, Bram took it for relief accounts, he said Mrs. Bell owed. And you let him? Yes. The word stood there, ugly and necessary. Hattie wanted to forgive her. She also wanted never to look at her again. Both feelings rose at once and neither was clean. Eli folded Bram's notice and handed it back to Hattie. Wednesday, then. Maud's head snapped up. You cannot go against him at the church without proof. Hattie walked to the pantry and brought out the folded coal sack stamped full 50. Then another, then another. She laid them on the table. We have proof enough to ask questions, she said. Maud stared. He will say they were damaged. Then you will say how they were entered. I said I cannot. Hattie nodded. Then bring every lie you can carry and watch him put them on me again. Maud looked as if she had been slapped, but Hattie had not raised her hand. That was the trouble with deserved words. They bruised deeper. After Maud left, Eli found Hattie in the pantry, standing with both hands braced on the flour barrel. You do not have to go Wednesday, he said. Yes, I do. Bram wants you in that room. He had me in that room before I understood the game. This time I know the board. He may call my note. He will. He may send the deputy. Likely. He may make this uglier than it already is. Hattie turned. Eli, if I leave, he still owns your coal. He still owns Maud's silence. He still owns every widow's cold stove and every man's fear of losing credit. I did not bring that here. I only made him show it. Eli's face shifted with something close to pride. What? She asked. I was thinking that Pine Cleft has poor taste in housekeepers. She laughed once despite everything. He stepped closer, then stopped at a respectful distance. The space between them had become its own kind of speech. Hattie, he said, if we go Wednesday, I go beside you, not in front unless you ask, not behind unless that serves beside. And if your sons resent me for the cost. From the doorway, Daniel said, we do not. Hattie turned. Daniel stood there with Tom half hidden behind him. I did, Daniel said, at first, because Ma was gone and everyone acted like a woman in the kitchen meant forgetting her. But Tully is the one trying to take things, not you. Tom nodded fiercely, and you make better beans. Daniel elbowed him. Tom added different beans. Hattie pressed her lips together until the urge to cry passed. Thank you, she said. Daniel held out a small cloth pouch. These were in the barn loft, old coal tags. Gideon said you might want them. Inside were 5 round tin tokens stamped with the church mark, relief coal tokens. Hattie closed her fingers over them. The boys had not solved the story. They had not carried the adult burden. But they had chosen truth in the small way children could, and Eli looked at them as if something in his broken house had just found a beam. On Tuesday, the Cheyenne ticket arrived. Nate Ives brought it wrapped in oilcloth. He stood on the porch with his hat in his hand and would not cross the threshold. Bram said to give this to Miss Ward private. Eli looked toward the kitchen. Hattie. She came with flour on her sleeve. Nate handed her the packet. He said the East Sleigh leaves Thursday if the road holds. Ticket paid to Cheyenne. $5 cash if you sign that your debt is settled and leave North Fork before the church meeting. Hattie opened the oilcloth. The ticket was real, so were the $5. There it was, a way out. Cheyenne meant work if she found it, anonymity if she was lucky, and distance from Bram Tully's ledger. It meant Eli's hay meadow might be spared, his sons kept safe, North Fork left out of a fight that had begun before she crossed its threshold. Eli said nothing. That silence cost him. Hattie could see it in the way he held himself. Nate shuffled. I am to wait for an answer. Hattie looked at the ticket a long moment. She thought of the boarding house hall, Maud's silence, the church table, Tom under the falling plank, Eli wiping soot from her wrist, Daniel handing her the tokens. She thought of every woman in Pine Cleft who had accepted less heat because a man with a ledger told her winter was expensive. Then she placed the $5 back in Nate's hand. Tell Mr. Tully I will keep the ticket as evidence of attempted purchase. Nate blinked. Ma'am. You heard me. He will not like that. He was not meant to. Eli let out a breath he had been holding. Nate looked at him. "Mr. Mercer, Bram says if she stands at church, he will call the hay note and send Deputy Vale before week's end." Eli took the reins of his temper and held them tight. "Nate, you have carried enough poison for one day. Go home." Nate nodded and fled down the steps. Hattie held the ticket. Her hand shook only after he was gone. Eli saw. "You could still use it," he said. "I know. I would take you to the sleigh myself if you chose." That hurt more than if he had begged. "Would you?" she asked. His eyes held hers. "Yes. Even now. Especially now, if you stay, it has to be yours." Hattie folded the ticket and put it in her apron pocket. "Then I am staying." His expression changed. Hope came into it slowly, as if he did not trust it with sudden movement. "Through Friday?" he asked. "Through Wednesday at least. Still negotiating with blizzards. And stubborn ranchers." He smiled, but his voice when he spoke was serious. "If we come through this, Hattie Ward, I am going to ask again. Not because you cooked, not because you saved Tom, not because this house needs you, though God knows it does. I am going to ask because I want you here when need is not the only reason." Her eyes burned. "That is the first honest courtship speech I have heard that includes coal fraud," she said. "I can improve it with practice. You may need a great deal. Then I will start early." He did not touch her. She wished he would. She was grateful he did not. The wanting and the gratitude stood side by side, both clean, both difficult. By Wednesday afternoon, the road to Pine Cleft was hardly passable. Eli hitched the team to the sleigh because wheels would never make it. Gideon insisted on coming, though his limp worsened in cold. Daniel and Tom stayed with Arlen under strict orders, and Daniel hated every word of it until Hattie gave him the kitchen inventory and told him he was acting house steward. "That is not a real thing," he said. "It is now." He stood taller despite himself. Arlen watched from the bunkhouse porch, arms folded. "You go into town with those sacks, Bram will know they came from here." Eli tightened a strap. "They did come from here. He will say you tampered with them." Hattie loaded the sacks. Then he should enjoy saying it in front of the women who burned the same stone. Arlen looked away. Gideon climbed into the sleigh with a grunt. "Boy, if your conscience ever thaws, bring it to church. We may have use for it." Arlen said nothing. The ride to Pine Cleft took 3 hours through a world stripped to white, gray, and the dark lines of fence posts. Twice Eli got out to lead the horses over drifts. Once Hattie climbed down to push while Gideon cursed the snow in language that would have startled the church ladies if they could have heard him. The coal sacks lay under canvas at their feet. In Hattie's pocket, the Cheyenne ticket felt stiff as a dare. They reached town after sunset. The church windows glowed yellow. Sleighs and wagons stood outside, snow piled on their seats. The coal shed behind Bram's store was locked, but fresh runners marked the alley. Someone had been moving coal that day. Inside the church, the supper had begun. Long tables were set with beans, bread, pickles, dried apple pie, and coffee thin enough to see the bottom of a cup. People turned as Hattie entered with Eli and Gideon behind her. The first silence was familiar. The second was not. In the first, people had decided she was trouble. In the second, they wondered why she had come back. Bram Tully stood near the relief table with Deputy Vale beside him. Vale was not a bad man so much as a man who liked being invited to stand near strong ones. He wore his badge bright and his doubts dim. Maud sat by the stove again. Hattie looked at her once. Maud looked down. Bram smiled. "Miss Ward, Mr. Mercer, I admit I did not expect you to brave the road." Hattie removed her gloves. "You paid for my ticket," it seemed polite to answer in person. A murmur moved through the room. Bram's smile flickered. "A private kindness should not be made spectacle." "Then you should not have sent it with conditions." Eli stood beside her, not in front. His shoulder was close enough that she knew he was there, far enough that the room could see she stood on her own feet. Bram lifted his hands. "Very well. Since Miss Ward wants public dealing she shall have. Deputy Vale, this woman owes debt under written notice and is suspected in the disappearance of $12 from the Bell relief purse. Maud's face went white. Vale cleared his throat. Mrs. Ward, there has been a complaint. Miss Ward, Hattie said. Miss Ward, then, Mr. Tully asks that your trunk and any wages owed be held pending settlement. Eli said, her wages are not yours to hold. Bram turned. Yours may be, Mr. Mercer, once your note is called. The room stirred again. This was why Bram had waited for an audience. He wanted every rancher to see what defiance cost. Hattie took the Cheyenne ticket from her pocket and laid it on the relief table. Mr. Tully sent this if I would leave before tonight, she said. Bram laughed softly. A woman may mistake mercy for purchase when pride leads her. There were $5 with it. Mr. Ives can say so. Nate Ives stood near the back, hat in hand. Every eye found him. He looked as if he wished the floor would open. Bram's voice sharpened. Nate delivered what he was told to deliver. Charity travel is not a crime. No, Hattie said, but bribing a witness to vanish before a complaint meeting carries a smell. Deputy Vale shifted. Bram slapped his palm on the ledger. Enough! This is exactly why I warned the board. She twists every kindness into accusation. She entered Mrs. Bell's room, the purse vanished, and Maud Larkin herself could not recollect receiving it. Maud closed her eyes. Hattie felt Eli beside her, felt him waiting, felt the whole room waiting for Maud to fail her again. But Hattie had not come only for Maud. She turned to the tables. Mrs. Donnelly, may I ask what your church relief coal sack weighed when it came last week? An older widow near the end of the table blinked. I do not have a scale. Did it heat 3 days? No, the woman said slowly. 1.5 maybe. Bram scoffed. Cold makes people burn more. Hattie looked at another woman, Mrs. Pike. The woman stiffened. Mine burned quick too. Mrs. Adler. Slate in the bottom, Mrs. Adler whispered. Bram's smile vanished. Hattie nodded to Eli. He opened the church doors. Gideon and Nate Ives brought in the coal sacks from the sleigh. Snow blew in around their boots. The sacks thudded onto the floor before the relief table. Hattie lifted the first one. This came to North Fork stamped full 50. It held coal, slate, and dirt. The bottom seam was opened and resewn. Bram spread his hands. A ranch sack dragged through barns, meaningless. Then let us see a church sack. No one moved. Bram laughed once. You cannot rifle church property because a disgruntled servant has a theory. I am not a servant, Hattie said. I am a paid housekeeper. You are a debtor. Then you should be eager to prove the honesty of your accounts. The room shifted. A few men looked at the coal shed key on Bram's belt. Bram saw them looking. Deputy Vale said, Mr. Tully, perhaps opening a sack would settle talk. Bram's eyes cut to him. Deputy, I will not have church relief damaged for theater. Mrs. Donnelly stood with effort. It was my relief too, Bram. That moved the room more than Hattie's challenge had. Mrs. Donnelly was 70 if she was a day, with hands bent from washing and a black bonnet patched at the edge. Nobody could accuse her of theater. She pointed toward the door. Open mine. Bram's lips thinned. Your sack was delivered. Half delivered. Another widow stood, then another. Maud gripped the back of her chair. Bram reached for the ledger. This is disorder, the board will meet private. Hattie stepped forward. No, you made my name public, you can make the coal public too. For 1 second she thought he might strike her, not with a fist. Bram Tully was too careful for that, but with the full force of office, credit, hunger, winter, fear. Instead he smiled again, and that was worse. Very well, since Miss Ward wants measurements, let us measure. Deputy, bring a scale from the store. Eli Mercer will stand here and watch his last note come due while we indulge this woman's performance. Eli's voice was calm. My note can stand beside me. Bram turned to the room. Hear that? North Fork's hay meadow is collateral by morning if his account remains in arrears. Daniel was not there to hear it. Tom was not there. Hattie was grateful for that, but Eli's face still changed, a flash of pain at what this could cost his sons. Hattie almost faltered. Eli looked at her and gave the smallest nod. Beside, he had said. The scale came. It was a hanging store scale with an iron hook. Nate carried it like a man carrying judgment. They weighed the North Fork sack first, 31 pounds with slate and dirt. The room murmured. Bram shrugged, damaged. Mrs. Donnelly sent her nephew to fetch the sack left beside her stove. He returned with it on a sled. It was stamped full 50. The twine at the bottom was gray. Hattie did not touch it. Deputy, she said. Vale hesitated, then cut the seam over a wash tub. Coal fell first, then slate chips, then dirt. The tub rang with it. Nate hooked the sack to the scale. 30 pounds, he said, voice rough. The church erupted. Bram lifted both hands. One sack, a supplier error. Mrs. Pike's sack weighed 29. Mrs. Adler's weighed 32. A ranch hand brought in 2 sacks from the church shed, both under 35. Someone near the back said, 30 pounds for 50 paid. A woman answered, and we called her thief. The words reached Hattie before Bram could cover them with another explanation. No, Hattie said, it proves you steal heat from widows and sell stone as coal. Careful, Bram snapped. I have been careful for months. It did not save me. He turned to Maud. Mrs. Larkin, you will tell this room what you told me. Miss Ward had access to Mrs. Bell's purse. You did not receive it. Maud stood. Every eye went to her. Her hands trembled so badly, the chair rattled behind her. Bram's voice softened with threat. Remember your note. Maud looked at Hattie, and for a moment the boarding house hall stood between them. The purse, the silence, the easy road not taken. Then Maud said, Hattie gave me the purse. Bram froze. Maud's voice shook, but it carried. At the kitchen door, the morning Mrs. Bell died, $12 and some cents. Bram took it that afternoon and told me Mrs. Bell owed store account. He told me to write it as relief transfer. I did. The room went silent in a new way. Bram said very softly, you are confused. Maud lifted her chin. No, I have been afraid that is different. Hattie closed her eyes for one heartbeat. Maud turned to Deputy Vale. He owns my boarding house note. He made me enter full coal weights when short sacks went out. He said if I spoke, he would call my note and put my brother out. Bram moved then. Not toward Maud, toward the ledger. He snatched it from the table and turned toward the stove. Hattie saw the motion before anyone else understood. She crossed the space and caught the ledger's lower corner with both hands. Bram pulled hard. The binding tore. Papers slipped. He shoved her shoulder with his forearm, not enough to look like an attack, enough to break her grip if she had not expected cowardice to wear good cloth. Eli stepped forward, but Hattie shouted, no. She would not have Bram say Eli had overpowered him for her. She drove her heel down on the torn ledger pages that had fallen, pinning them to the floor, and kept both hands on the cover. Bram hissed, let go. No, you do not know what you are holding. I know exactly what I am holding. Heat, wages, widow money, my name. He twisted again. Maud moved from the stove and grabbed Bram's wrist. It was not graceful. It was not brave in the way songs make bravery clean. Maud was crying and her hands shook, but she held on. Deputy, Mrs. Donnelly cried. Vale finally found the part of himself that belonged to the badge. He seized Bram's arm. Eli caught the ledger before it tore free. Nate Ives stepped between Bram and the stove. Gideon planted his cane against the firebox door as if he could hold back sin with hickory. Bram struggled once, then went still. His face had changed. All polish gone, only rage under skin. Every man in this room who owes me, he said. Remember tonight, notes come due, coal stops, freight stops. You think a few old sacks change winter. That was his last defense, and it was a strong one because fear had fed him for years. Eli took the torn ledger and set it on the table. Then he reached into his coat and drew out his hay note. Hattie recognized the fold from the kitchen table. This is North Fork's last hay note, Eli said. Bram holds it. If I stand with Miss Ward, he calls it. If I stay quiet, he keeps selling half coal to families who cannot afford half heat. Bram smiled through his anger. Careful, Mercer. Eli looked around the church. I will pay this note in hay, not meadow, 10 loads at fair weight to the church relief board, starting tomorrow if roads allow, not to Bram's shed, to the widows and families named here. Bram laughed. You cannot assign payment without my consent. I am not asking your consent. I am asking Pine Cleft whether it wants heat or your permission. The room held. Then Mrs. Donnelly lifted her hand. Heat. Mrs. Pike followed. Heat. Nate Ives said, my team will haul it. Bram turned on him. You work for me. Nate swallowed. Not after tonight. One rancher folded the collateral form Bram had given him and put it back in his coat unsigned. A widow picked up her short coal sack and set it beside Bram's polished boot. Deputy Vale removed the coal shed key from Bram's belt. Bram jerked back. You have no authority, Bram snapped. Vale looked at the widows, the short sacks, Maud, Hattie, Eli's note, and the ledger pages under Hattie's boot. Shame did what law had delayed. As deputy and acting peace officer until the circuit judge comes, Vale said, voice uneven, I am holding church property under dispute. That key belongs to the relief board until accounts are examined. You will regret this. Likely, Vale said, but not as much as I regret waiting. Mrs. Donnelly walked behind the relief table and stood where Bram had stood that morning. Nobody asked her to move. The church board removed Bram Tully as treasurer before the stove burned down to coals. It was not neat. Men argued over procedure. Bram threatened notes, freight, lawsuits, and ruin. When he looked around for someone to back his threat, the first person to meet his eyes was Maud. Maud repeated her confession for the board and Deputy Vale's written statement. Hattie had to stand while Mrs. Bell's purse was named again, but this time Maud said clearly that Hattie had given it over and Bram had taken it. The coal sacks lay open on the floor like black evidence. The church ledger left Bram's hand and went into Deputy Vale's satchel. Nate Ives crossed his own name off Bram's teamster list in front of the room and offered his team for Eli's hay loads. 3 widows took back their relief tokens. Maud brought out the false debt note on Hattie's board and tore the storage fee line from it under Vale's eye. Bram did not ride away in dignity. He stood by the stove with snow melting from his boots, watching obedience leave him person by person. When Maud came to her near midnight, the church had thinned. Eli was outside with Nate, arranging the first hay load. Gideon dozed on a bench with his cane across his knees. Maud held Hattie's trunk key in one hand and the torn debt paper in the other. The trunk is yours, Maud said. It was always mine. Maud nodded, yes. Hattie waited. Maud swallowed. I told the board I will house Mrs. Donnelly and Mrs. Adler without charge if the cold turns them out, through March, and I will keep the new relief accounts under Mrs. Donnelly's eye, not Bram's, Vale wrote it. That was cost, not enough to buy back trust whole, but enough to begin paying instead of pleading. And my name, Hattie asked. Maud looked toward the room where 2 women who had avoided Hattie's eyes now stood near the coal sacks. I said it clear. I will say it again at Sunday service. Do that before you ask me for forgiveness. Pain crossed Maud's face, then she nodded, I will. Hattie took the trunk key, but not Maud's hand. Outside, the storm had eased to falling powder. Eli stood beside the sleigh, shoulders white, talking with Nate. When he saw Hattie, he ended the conversation and came to her. You ready? He asked. She looked back at the church. Bram Tully was still inside with Deputy Vale. Maud sat with Mrs. Donnelly. The coal sacks were being separated from stone and dirt by men who had paid for better and women who had been told to be grateful for less. No, Hattie said, but I am finished here for tonight. Eli helped her into the sleigh. His hand was steady under hers. He did not squeeze. He did not claim the moment. He simply made sure she had balance. On the road home, dawn slowly paled the eastern snow. Gideon slept sitting up. The horses moved tired but willing. Hattie held the Cheyenne ticket in one mitten and the trunk key in the other. Eli drove with his collar high, face lined by exhaustion. Your hay, she said. We'll keep people warm. Your note. Will be argued. Your meadow. Still under snow where I left it. Eli. He glanced at her. You risked more than I asked. No, he said. Bram risked it by thinking nobody would count what he stole. You could lose. Yes. That does not frighten you. It does, he looked back to the horses. But I have been frightened in quieter ways, watching my sons eat cold beans because I could not admit I needed help, watching Daniel turn hard around his mother's memory, watching Tom grow careful instead of loud, watching my house become a place where everyone survived and nobody came home. That frightened me worse. Hattie looked down at the tickets, and now I am frightened you will use that ticket because you have every right to. Her breath caught. He did not look at her when he said it. That made the words braver. I meant what I told you, he continued. If you choose Cheyenne, I will take you. If you choose Pine Cleft, I will speak your name clean there. If you choose North Fork for another month of wages and no promises, I will honor that too. And if I choose courtship. The horse's harness creaked. Gideon snored once and woke himself. Eli's hands tightened on the reins. Then I will ask you properly when we are not half frozen, when my sons can hear it plain, and when no man can say you answered because winter trapped you under my roof. She looked at his profile, the tired eyes, the rough beard, the man who had learned restraint the hard way and still kept it. That may be the finest foolish answer I have ever heard, she said. His mouth curved. I have been practicing. They reached North Fork near mid-morning. Daniel and Tom burst from the house before the sleigh stopped. Daniel tried to look like he had only come to help with the horses. Tom did not pretend. He ran straight to Hattie and stopped short, suddenly remembering he was not a small child and she was not his mother. Did you win? He asked. Hattie climbed down, her bones ached. Her skirt was stiff with dried snow, her eyes burned from smoke and exhaustion. We told the truth, she said. That is not always the same as winning, but it did good work. Daniel looked at Eli, the meadow. Still ours this morning. Tom exhaled. Gideon climbed down muttering that he was too old to sleep in sleighs, then handed Daniel the first relief token. Your acting house stewarding kept the stove alive. Daniel straightened, yes. Then steward this, we haul hay when the team rests. Arlen came from the bunkhouse, face drawn. He looked at Eli, then Hattie, then the sleigh. Is it true, he asked, about Tully? Yes, Hattie said. Arlen rubbed a hand over his mouth. He paid me $2 to tell him if you found anything in the sacks. Daniel surged forward. Eli caught his arm. Arlen flinched but did not run. I did not tell him about the tokens. I told him about one sack before I knew. Then after Tom near got hurt in the barn, he swallowed. I should have said. Gideon stared at him with disgust. Eli's face went hard. You took money to carry talk from my house. Yes. Then you are done at North Fork when the road opens. Arlen nodded as if he expected worse. Hattie said, what will you do until then? Work, Arlen said quietly, if he lets me. Eli looked at him a long moment. You will haul hay to widows. No horse of mine carries you to town for pay until those loads are done. Wages owed will settle what you took from this house's trust. Arlen's face reddened, but he nodded. That was cost too, not redemption, cost first. The next week was harder than victory should have been, but the old obedience had cracked. The barn roof still needed repair. Hay had to be hauled down treacherous roads. Bram sent a lawyer's letter from Laramie threatening notes, wages, and accounts, but Nate hauled Eli's first relief load anyway. Arlen rode with him, stacking hay under Mrs. Donnelly's shed while she watched with narrowed eyes. Maud opened 2 rooms at the boarding house to widows whose coal had failed, and Deputy Vale stood in Bram's doorway while the relief coal was weighed in public. At North Fork, Hattie slept 12 hours after the church meeting and woke ashamed of it, until Eli told her the house had survived without catching fire. Narrowly, Tom said, You boiled coffee in the bean pot, Daniel added. It was educational, Eli said. Hattie laughed so hard she had to sit down. That laugh changed the kitchen, not because grief vanished. Ann Mercer's photograph still watched from the shelf. Daniel still grew quiet sometimes at odd moments. Eli still stood alone by the barn in evening, looking at the ridge as if memory lived there. Hattie still woke some nights with the boarding house hallway in her mind and Maud's silence fresh as new snow. But the house no longer felt as if everyone in it was apologizing for needing warmth. One afternoon, Hattie found Daniel at the table writing figures. "What is that?" she asked. "Hey, loads," he said. "If we send 10 and each is valued fair, Pa's note drops by enough that Tully cannot claim the meadow before the judge comes. Maybe." Maybe is where proof starts. He looked up. That is still teacher talk. "And yet you are learning." He dipped the pen again, then paused. "If Pa courts you, are you leaving?" Hattie sat across from him. "Courtship is not leaving. Ma was courted and came here. I am already here." "That is not what I meant." "I know." He stared at the paper. "If you stay, people will say it is because he saved you. People say what keeps their mouths warm. Does it bother you?" "Yes." "Then why stay?" Hattie looked toward the stove, the pantry list, Tom's slate, the photograph, the window beyond which Eli and Gideon were mending a gate. "Because I am not staying as a woman saved," she said. "I am staying as a woman who helped save something and was asked whether she wanted to belong to it." Daniel considered that with the grave suspicion of 15. That sounds like something you would put on a school primer. "Then spell it correctly." He smiled into his arithmetic. On Saturday, Pine Cleft's new relief board met in the church. Hattie did not attend. She had said what needed saying, and Mrs. Donnelly was better suited to make men fear God over coal weights. Eli went with Gideon and Nate. When he returned, snow was falling gently, the kind that looked harmless because it had not yet piled against the door. Hattie was kneading bread. Tom read spelling at the table. Daniel repaired a harness strap near the stove. Eli removed his hat and stood in the doorway long enough that Hattie knew something had happened. "What is it?" she asked. "Board voted." Tom lowered the book. "Tully is removed from church accounts permanently," Eli said. "Deputy Vale wired Laramie for a formal audit when the line clears. Mrs. Donnelly holds the coal shed key with Nate and Reverend Cole. Maud signed a statement. Bram cannot collect disputed notes until the judge reviews the accounts." Daniel let out a breath. "The meadow. Safe until review. After, we will work." That was not easy comfort, it was better. Eli looked at Hattie. "There is more." She wiped flour from her hands. Maud read a statement at the church door after meeting. She named what she did. She named what Bram did. She named that you gave her Mrs. Bell's purse and that she lied by silence. She said any woman needing board because of Bram's coal shortage could come to her house without charge through March. Hattie closed her eyes. The hurt did not disappear, but something tight around it loosened. "Good," she said. "She asked me to bring this." Eli held out a small envelope. Hattie opened it. Inside was no apology letter, only $3.20 and a receipt marked, "First restitution ONH Ward board overcharge recorded before relief board. Cost first." Hattie folded the receipt. "That is something." "Yes." "Not everything." "No." She looked at him, grateful that he understood the difference. That evening after supper, Eli asked the boys to stay at the table. Hattie's hands went still around the coffee pot. Daniel looked from his father to Hattie and sat straighter. Tom looked excited and afraid. Eli stood at the foot of the table where he always sat. Anne's photograph was on the shelf behind him, the stove steady, the windows dark with winter. "I need to say something plain," he began. Tom whispered, "Are we in trouble?" "No." "Is Arland?" "Not tonight." Daniel kicked Tom gently under the table. Eli's mouth twitched, then sobered. "When Miss Ward came here, I hired her for work. She has done that work and more. She saved this house from cold, saved Tom from harm, helped show Pine Cleft the truth, and never once asked to take a place that was not freely given." Hattie felt heat rise in her face. "Eli, I am not finished." Daniel looked down to hide a smile. Eli turned toward Hattie fully. "I told you I would ask properly when no man could say winter trapped you. The road to Cheyenne is open enough by Monday. Your wages are current. Your trunk is yours. Your name is spoken clean at church. If you want to leave, I will take you. If you want another post, I will write for you. If you want only wages here, you will have them." Hattie's throat tightened. He had built a door before asking her to stay. That was the difference between shelter and a cage. He took a breath. But if you are willing, I would like to court you, not claim you, not hire you into affection. Court you? I came to court her, not claim her, is what I will tell any man in Pine Cleft who confuses the two. Tom's eyes grew wide. Daniel looked fiercely at the table. Hattie could not speak at first. The Cheyenne ticket lay in her room, tucked into her Bible. She thought of it now, a paper door, a real one, still hers. You are asking in front of your sons, she said. Yes. Why? Because they live in this house too, because they loved their mother, because they deserve to know I am not replacing grief with convenience, and because they should hear a man ask, not take. Daniel looked up then. Something passed between father and son that had nothing to do with Hattie and everything to do with the house healing in the right order. Hattie set the coffee pot down. Then I will answer in front of them, she said. Yes, you may court me, slowly, properly, with the right to be told when you are being foolish. Tom grinned. He needs that. Eli looked at his younger son, frequently. Daniel said, do we still have to wash behind our ears? Hattie looked at him. More than ever, courtship raises standards. For the first time since she had entered North Fork, Daniel laughed without catching himself. Eli's eyes shone, though he would have denied it under oath. Hattie looked at Anne's photograph. She did not ask permission from it. The dead were not gatekeepers, but she gave it respect because love that had been real did not need to be erased for new love to stand honestly. After the boys went to bed, Hattie stepped onto the porch. The night was cold and clear. Stars burned over the white yard. From the barn came the soft sounds of horses shifting. Inside, the stove held steady. Eli came out a moment later and stood beside her, leaving space. Did I say it right? He asked. Mostly. You praised my beans too little. A grave errors. And you called yourself foolish only by implication. I will correct that Sunday. She smiled into the dark. He turned serious. Hattie, I know people will talk. People are fond of proving they have tongues. I cannot promise easy. I have never trusted easy. I cannot promise Bram is finished. No, but he is smaller. I can promise you this. Need open my door. Choice keeps it open. If you ever choose otherwise, I will not lock it behind you. She looked at him then. And if I choose to close it from the inside. His face softened in a way that warmed her more than the stove. Then I will thank God and stack more wood. She held out her hand. He took it. No more than that, a hand in the cold, a promise allowed to breathe. It was enough because neither of them was pretending it was all. The next morning, Hattie put on her coat before breakfast and walked to the little room where her trunk stood. She opened her Bible and took out the Cheyenne ticket. For a long moment, she held it between both hands. It was not shame to keep a road open. It was not weakness to leave. She wanted to remember that. She wanted every choice after this to be honest because there had been a true choice beside it. She carried the ticket into the kitchen. The boys were already arguing about whether Tom had overfed the stove. Eli stood at the dry sink shaving by a cloudy mirror, one side of his face still lathered. He stopped when he saw the ticket. No one spoke. Hattie set the ticket on the mantel beneath Anne's photograph. I am not burning it, she said. Not yet. I want it where I can see that I stayed because I chose to. Eli wiped soap from his jaw with a towel. That seems right. Tom looked disappointed. Burning it would be more exciting. So is a barn roof falling, Daniel said. We are avoiding exciting. Hattie tied on her apron. Wise policy. Work resumed because even good news did not split kindling. By noon, Nate arrived with word that Bram Tully had tried to open the coal shed with a second key and found Gideon sitting inside with a lantern and Mrs. Donnelly's written order. Hattie made Nate coffee. Gideon returned by evening pleased with himself and unwilling to admit the cold had nearly stiffened his bad leg. On Sunday, Hattie went back to Pine Cleft Church. This time she rode beside Eli on the wagon seat, not hidden under canvas, not shrinking from the road. Daniel and Tom sat in back with brushed coats and ears clean enough to satisfy courtship standards. Gideon rode with Nate behind them, and Arlen came too because his hay restitution was not done. The church was full. Bram Tully was not at the relief table. That absence was a kind of sermon. Mrs. Donnelly sat behind the ledger with spectacles low on her nose. Maud stood near the door, pale but upright. When Hattie entered, Maud turned to the room before courage could flee. "Before service," Maud said, voice carrying thin but clear, "I will repeat what should have been said months ago. Hattie Ward did not steal Mrs. Bell's purse. She placed it in my hands. I stayed silent out of fear and debt, and my silence helped Bram Tully wrong her. I have begun restitution before the board and will continue it. Any person who heard me doubt her should hear me clear her." The words trembled, they did not fall. People looked at Hattie differently then, some with shame, some with curiosity, some with the quick hunger to be forgiven without asking. She gave them none of that in a hurry. Mrs. Donnelly rose next, and the relief board thanks Miss Ward for bringing forward the coal matter. Hattie did not want to stand before applause, and thankfully Pine Cleft was too stiff for much of it. But two women nodded to her. Nate touched his hat. Deputy Vale, standing near the side aisle, looked her in the eye and did not look away. Bram's power had not vanished. Men like him had roots, but roots could be cut one at a time. After service, Hattie stepped outside into cold sunlight. Eli came beside her, and this time when people watched, he did not hide the fact that he was walking with her. Mrs. Pike approached with a basket covered in cloth. "For North Fork," she said awkwardly. "Bread, not charity, thanks." Hattie accepted it. "Thank you." Mrs. Pike hesitated. "I believed Bram too quick." "Yes," Hattie said. The woman flinched, then nodded. "I will do slower next time." "That would help." Near the wagon, Eli leaned close enough to speak low. "You are hard on apologies. Soft apologies spoil if not salted. Teacher talk again. Housekeeper talk, teachers are kinder." He laughed, and people turned because the sound was rare enough to notice. Final weeks of winter did not turn gentle. A judge came through in late February and found enough false weights, coerced entries, and disputed collections to strip Bram of the church account and freeze several debt claims until spring court. He kept his store for a while, but not his easy throne. People weighed their sacks in public now. North Fork paid down the hay note by sweat, not miracle. Arlen finished the relief loads, handed his $2 of Tully money to Mrs. Donnelly's coal fund, and left with lower eyes. Maud kept the widows through March and sent receipts. Hattie answered with exact figures until Maud sent back Mrs. Bell's old thimble, and only then did Hattie write thank you. At North Fork, courtship looked very much like work to anyone who did not know better. Eli walked Hattie to the spring house and back, though the path was safe. Hattie mended his coat and scolded him for standing in drafts. He asked before taking her hand every time, until one evening she told him that asking once per evening was sufficient unless he changed hands. Daniel pretended to be disgusted and then asked Hattie whether women cared if a man knew sums. She told him women cared if a man knew honesty, but sums helped keep honest men fed. Tom wrote a composition titled Our Housekeeper Who Is Not Leaving Unless She Wants to, which Hattie marked for punctuation and then kept in her trunk. Spring came late. When the first thaw opened the creek and the north meadow showed brown through melting snow, Eli took Hattie to the church social in Pine Cleft. Some wounds began in public and deserved to be answered where they had been made. The church tables were set with bread, beans, dried fruit, and coffee stronger than usual because Mrs. Donnelly now controlled the purchase. Coal sacks were stacked outside for final accounting, every one weighed before delivery. The relief ledger lay open under 3 sets of eyes. No one called Hattie a thief. No one asked whether Eli had hired trouble. Bram Tully stood across the room, thinner in reputation if not body, speaking to 2 men who watched their own purses while he talked. His eyes found Hattie once. There was hatred there, but not control. That difference mattered. Eli saw him looking. "You all right?" Hattie looked at Bram, then at Maud serving coffee beside Mrs. Donnelly, then at Nate laughing with Gideon, then at Daniel helping Tom carry plates without being asked. "Yes," she said, "I believe I am." When the fiddler began, Eli offered his hand. "Would you dance with me, Miss Ward?" Are you asking because the room is watching? No, I am asking because I have wanted to since you told my sons to wash behind their ears. That was a powerful moment. Changed my life. She laughed and placed her hand in his. They danced badly. Eli counted under his breath. Hattie stepped on his boot once and blamed the floor. Tom cheered. Daniel looked as if he might perish from embarrassment, which seemed only fair. Halfway through the set, Eli leaned closer. I came to court you, not claim you. You mentioned. I may keep mentioning it. See that you live it. Yes, ma'am. The final turn brought them near the church doors, where cold spring air slipped through the crack. Hattie saw the place where she had stood with her carpetbag that first day. Now her name was returned, her wages were paid, her choice was intact, and a man's hand was in hers because she wanted it there. Subscribe for more clean romantic Wild West stories where rejected women, lonely ranchers, and frontier families find honest home. After the dance, Eli drove them back to North Fork under a sky washed clean with stars. At North Fork, Hattie opened the door herself. 5 places waited at the table. She hung the carpetbag that had once sat unwanted at her boots on the hook beside the door, slid the bar into place from the inside, and took her place at the table. Eli waited until she sat before he sat beside her.